You're just starting with bullet journaling, but aren't sure how to set up for the new month. Or maybe you've been bullet journaling for a while, but are getting a bit bogged down with the aesthetics. It's all good, team. I got you. Today we are going to be setting up our bullet journals for the month ahead using the original bullet journal system. To do this, all we need is a notebook and a pen. Totally up to you which combo of pen and notebook you want to use, and of course you can add more materials if you want to. For this setup, I'm working in my B5 Archer and Olive journal, and am primarily using a Pigma Micron pen, though I've also opted to include 2 yellow markers to highlight titles and things like that. The first spread that I'd typically set up for each month would be a quote and cover page combo, but we don't have to worry about that for the original bullet journal system. Instead, we're getting into the monthly log. As per the original system, this spans a full spread, or 2 facing pages of the notebook, where we have a list-style calendar on the left and a task list on the right. I like my titles to stand out, so for my simple headers, I'm starting with a stripe of color, followed by writing in the month and year along the top of the page. After this, to set up our calendar, we just need to write a vertical list of numbers for the days of the month down the left-hand side. Beside those numbers, I'm putting in a letter for the initial for each day of the week. The right-hand side of this spread is for a task list, so I add the task's title to the top of that page. I don't have anything to add to this one just yet, as we still have roughly 10 days of the current month left to go, but I'll be populating this list as part of my monthly migration process just before the new month starts. Before setting up my layouts today, I had a reread of the Bullet Journal Method book by Ryder Carroll, just to make sure I was aligning this setup as closely as possible with the original method. The highlight color in the book is yellow, which is also why I decided to use a black pen and yellow marker combo in this setup. One of the things talked about in the book is customizing your monthly log by adding habit tracking to this. And this is done just by putting a letter or symbol on the right-hand side of that vertical calendar to represent each of the habits you want to track. I have a few too many habits that I'm tracking to add all of them here, so instead I'm just adding my monthly challenge by using a little trophy icon, making sure to add a key at the bottom so that I know what I meant in years to come. Another tip that is mentioned in the book is adding dividing lines to your calendar so that you can more easily see the separate weeks. Rather than doing this, I'm just putting in a colored dot over the number for the weekend days, but this is totally optional. I just find it easier to read my calendar if I have those put in. Monthly log finished though, and it's time to flip over to the next spread. While this is where many people would get started on their daily logs, something that's also talked about in the book is the use of custom collections, or collections that you set up, which are designed by you, to serve a specific need. The 2 custom collections that I'm going to be setting up here are my monthly actions list and a trackers page. These are totally optional, much like every layout in the bullet journal system. We want you to be including layouts that add value to you and are meaningful, while scrapping the ones that aren't useful. The actions list is where I break down my goals into monthly or one-off actions, weekly actions, and daily actions. For those one-off tasks, these are just written as a list, and I'm putting those yellow dots in so I can check off those actions as they happen. The weekly actions are the ones that I do on a once per week basis, so I put in the numbers 1 to 5 to represent each of the weeks, with a space to the right of those numbers to write in what those actions are. For each week that I complete an action, I can put a yellow dot over the number for that week, beside the given action. If I don't complete it, I can either cross out the number for the week, leave it blank, or most likely I'll put a black dot over it. For the daily actions, these are the ones that I need to try and do once a day. I like to track these with mini calendars, so I'm writing in the initials for each of the days of the week, and then putting in some small black dots to denote the days that aren't actually in the current month. Each of the blank spaces underneath those daily initials represents a day of the month though, and I can fill in whether I've completed those daily actions using yellow dots, similar to what I'll be doing with the weekly actions portion. As mentioned, this actions list is one of my custom collections, so not a core collection from the original bullet journal method, but the nice part about bullet journaling is that it's a flexible system, which allows you to add collections that you find useful. Another custom collection that I find useful are trackers, and in this trackers collection, I'm putting in a place to track my habits and my step counts. The layout of this one is quite similar to the calendar portion of the monthly log, so just writing out a list of the numbers and the initials for each of the days of the month down the left-hand side, and then a series of icons at the top to represent my habits and my step count. The habit tracker portion is what I'm putting in first, so 12 little symbols, which I'm writing a key for at the bottom of the page. The nice part about working in a B5 journal is that there is plenty of space to include that key. On the right-hand side of the page is where I'm putting in a space for that step tracker. This has a space to write out what my step count was, and then the numbers 0 to 10 to represent how many thousands of steps I did that day. Custom collection's done, and it's over the page and onto the daily log. For this one, all I can do at this point is write in the header for the daily log, which is essentially just the date of the first day of the month. I'm adding in a yellow dot so that it stands out as the page gets filled in, but as we talked about, all color is optional. Flipping back and having a look at our setup, from first to final touches of the pen, all of our spreads together took roughly 22 minutes total, though only 14 minutes if I hadn't included any of the yellow headers or highlights. These are aspects that make me more likely to actually use my journal though, so I think it's time well spent. If you are looking for more bullet journal inspiration and ideas, make sure to check out either of the playlists that we have on the screen here, and until next time, bye!